The sun has set. The air was cooler, but the heated earth smelled of dry warmth. The smell of herbs, tart, intoxicating during the day, became weaker. The tired oxen could barely pull the cart. Hooves thudded on the petrified ground. Hoelen was unbearably thirsty. A sip of cold spring water was thought of as divine grace. I have already asked several times if they will reach the source soon. Chiledu replied each time that it would be soon, but the same flat step lay ahead. Hoelen peered painfully in the direction where the sky, engulfed by dawn, closed with the steppe, hoping to see bushes of talus, panicles of reeds or tall sedge, satellites of lakes and streams. The dawn was dying down. The gray twilight merged with the gray steppe. Hoelun's sharp eyes noticed something dark ahead. Probably a reed bush. Chiledu, take a look. Chiledu stopped the bulls. The grass stopped rustling under the wheels. There was a silence filled with the sound of gnats, and in this silence the fractional sound of hooves scattered. Someone was rushing towards them. Hoelen caught the same sound of hooves from behind and from the side. "What is it?" She clung to Chiled in fright. He abruptly pushed her away and jumped out of the cart. The bowstring twanged loudly, and the arrow whistled away into the twilight. "Hey, Murkit, stop it!" Hoelen recognized the warning voice. "It is the red-haired Yesuge who has returned." The fear disappeared immediately. For some reason it seemed to her that Yesuge would not do anything bad to them, but he immediately dispelled hopes. "Listen carefully, Murkit. It's useless to fight with us. There are more of us. It is impossible to escape. Our horses are fresh and fast. If you pull the bow again, your body will be devoured by Corsairs tomorrow." Dusk had deepened so much that Hoelen could barely make out the dark figures of 3 horsemen looming from 3 sides. "We'll see who the Corsairs will devour first," Chiledu shouted furiously. Yesuge laughed. "You, Murkit, have an empty head, like an overturned cauldron. Look." An arrow pierced the ground almost at Chiledu's feet, knocking out a red spark with the tip. The shaft of the arrow trembled for a long time, making a sound similar to the buzzing of a bumblebee. "Well," Yesuge laughed, "before you know it, 3 of these arrows will pierce your throat. Now listen further. We don't need your worthless life. Get on your horse and get out. Let the girls stay with the D."
Hoelen realized that everything would be as the red-headed man had said. They will not leave, they will not retreat, they will kill Chilida. It was also incredible that it seemed like a bad dream. The bulls, sighing wearily, crunched the stale grass. Chilidu's horse rubbed its muzzle against the cart. Hoelen wanted to scream so that her cry would sweep over the steppe, raise all honest warriors and shepherds to their feet. But she did not scream, got out of the cart, hugged the groom. Go away, my good Chilidu. Where are you going? What is it?" he asked gloomily. "It's better to die with an arrow in your chest than in the back of your head." "You have to live," she said dully. "I won't let you get killed." A feverish detachment seized her. She hastily untied the horse from the cart, gave the reins to Child, pulled a knife from the scabbard hanging on his belt and went to the steppe, to Yesuge. She did everything with reckless haste, but as if all her movements had been checked and weighed in advance. "Hey, you red jackal, Chilidu will leave. He's not afraid to die, but I don't want him to die. Do you hear that, red-headed robber? If you kill Chilida, I'll slit my throat in front of you. Goodbye." She looked around. "Goodbye, Chilidu." Yesuge was waiting for her, leaning on a long spear. An iron helmet gleamed dully on his head. "I thought you were just a beauty, and it turns out that you have the heart of a brave warrior." She could not see his face, hidden by the twilight, but she could feel from his voice that Yesuge was grinning, and this mocking voice was hateful to her. She stopped 2 steps away from him, listening to the sounds behind her. "I wish Chilidu would leave soon. A little more and she won't be able to stand the unbearable strain."
Hoelen did not notice Yesuge raising his spear, suddenly striking his hand with the shaft. He knocked out the knife. His strong, firm-palmed hands gripped her, clamped over her mouth. He did all this so quickly and suddenly that Hoelen did not even resist. Lifting her into the saddle, he shouted something and drove the horse into the steppe. It was only then that Hoelen came to her senses. She was struggling in his arms, scratching, biting. Yasuge, cursing, laid her across the saddle, strapped her arms behind her back. Hoelen's head hung down to the sweaty belly of the horse, her hair trailing on the grass. Helpless, losing consciousness, she, as for the highest mercy, prayed to heaven and the patron spirits for death. I woke up in bed. The entrance to the yurt is open, a stream of bright light and fresh morning air flows into it. There is crumpled grass outside the threshold, pink, crimson, blue dew lights hang on it. The voices of people are heard, the plaintive mewing of a kid and the creaking of a cart. Apparently, she has nowhere to run, otherwise the yurt would have guards. Or maybe there are guards. Hoelen sat down and looked around the yurt. There is a narrow table against the wall opposite the entrance, on it leather ongen dolls with greasy heads, traces of sacrificial treats, a second table by the hearth, bowls and a large clay vessel on it, a pile of coal and ashes in the hearth under a black, smoky cauldron, another table, very small, with a shiny black lid and carved legs, standing by her bed on snow-white felt embroidered with stitches. Her bed is in the eastern half of the yurt. Opposite, behind the hearth, there is another bed, but it is empty. Closer to the exit, clothes hang on the wall, armor made of thick cowhide, an old, battered and worn quiver. All the usual things, familiar to her since childhood, only the black table, so shiny that you can look into the lid like in a mirror, she sees for the first time. Where is it located? What's going to happen to her? She remembered her cheerleader and wept silently. He's probably dead by now. She promised to save him and she didn't. She needs to die too. A young maid in a threadbare dressing gown entered noiselessly, bowed silently, put a wooden dish with dried foams on a small table, poured milk into a bowl. Hoelen, sobbing, signaled that she didn't need anything. Fujin should eat a lot and cry a little, the maid said in broken language, sighing sadly, and sat down next to Hoelen. Tears will ruin your face. I don't care anymore. Don't do that, don't. The maid shook her head. Fujin is young, beautiful, you have to live well. She touched Hoelen's hair affectionately and began to pick out the dry thorns that had stuck on during the night ride. Where are you from? What's your name? Hoelen stopped crying, a tiny hope flickered in her soul, maybe this woman will be able to help her. I'm from China. My name is Hocheng in your language, Huacheng in ours. Recently, I was grieving just like you are now crying. Now I'm not crying, I'm used to it. I don't care, I'm a simple man. Harashu, in your opinion, I was a servant at home, it's the same here. It's even better here. The owner of the house was an angry dog. He beat me on the back with a bamboo stick. Oh, how it hurts. Hochin shrugged her shoulders, wrinkled her face tearfully, but immediately laughed. How did you get here? My master had his own master, a very big man. The great and bright-faced Huang D3 himself sent him here as an ambassador. He took my master with him, and my master took me and my little brother Ho. The big master and my master were stabbed her. Hochin shivered and let go of Hoelen's hair. Light, quick footsteps were heard behind the wall of the yurt. Hochin hurriedly got up and, bowing, disappeared through the door. Almost immediately Yasuge entered the yurt. He was unarmed, except for a narrow bronze-trimmed knife hanging from a wide belt. Yasuge sat down at the table opposite, without curiosity, looked at her thoughtfully, asked, "Don't be angry, Hoelen, about yesterday." Hoelen's throat tightened. She forced out a hoarse, "Where is Chilidu?" For a moment, cold lights flashed in Yasuge's grey eyes, and he frowned. "Did you kill him?" Hoelen whispered, her gaze fell on Yasuge's belt. "If you bend over the table sharply, you can pull out the knife in time." "They didn't kill me," Yasuge replied with annoyance. "You didn't want him to die, and he lives. But if you remind me of him, I'll bring you his head." He paused. Hoelen was also silent. A gadfly flew into the smoke hole and began to circle around the yurt with an annoying buzz. Hoelen listened to this buzzing, looked at the bowl of milk. There was a mute emptiness in her head, in her heart. Hoelen. Yasuge's voice sounded as if from afar. She did not look up, did not move. I won't hurt you. I want you to be my wife. Only death will make me give up on you. Remember that, Hoelen. He paused. We're going to war. If they kill me, it means that heaven did not want me to become the father of your children. In the event of my death, you will be taken home. But if I come back, Hoelen, do you want me to come back alive? Are you silent? Yasuge got up and began to walk around the yurt. His face became more and more gloomy and preoccupied. He was nothing like yesterday. No caustic jokes, no mocking insolence. He walked around the yurt, seemingly completely forgetting about Hoelen. Suddenly he stopped, spoke softly, as if complaining. They killed him after all. And how they killed him? Who was killed? Hoelen had a fleeting thought that Yasuge was talking about Chilidu, that he had been deceiving her before. They killed Ambaha Khan. Yes, you don't know. Hoelen breathed a sigh of relief. What does Khan's death mean to her? You don't know who Ambaha Khan was to me. I loved him more than my own father. His wisdom was the strength of our tribe. Damn Tatars. They seized Ambakai Khan and handed him over to Altan Khan of China. Altan Khan ordered him to be nailed to a wooden donkey. A crowd of onlookers went to watch Bagatur and the sage die. Bagatur Kuchula, the son of the glorious Kabul Khan, will lead us, the avenging warriors. We will repay everyone for everything. What Yasuge was talking about was far from Hoelen, but against her will she listened to the sound of his voice. There was so much violent rage in him that she felt uneasy.